Legal advice. My neighbor's child has disabilities and won't stop climbing the fence, entering my house, and quote-unquote freeing my dogs. For the past 7 months after moving into my new house with my daughter and dogs, the neighbor's child, who's 15 or 16 and has pretty severe Down syndrome, has increasingly been entering my property and my home. At first, I just talked to the neighbors, and they were at first really sorry and vowed to monitor her movements while she was in their backyard. However, after a few months, they just genuinely do not care anymore, and they brush it off. I've installed security cameras in the backyard and the front yard purely for my own safety, insurance-wise, because we do have a pool. She will climb the fence into my yard. This is a 6-foot wooden privacy fence with a ladder from their shed, and go let my dogs out. I've fixed her letting my dogs quote unquote free, as she says, by using chains and padlocks on the 2 gates. Before this became a common occurrence, she would even let the dogs out of the house and then quote unquote free them. Numerous times, if my garage door is opened, she will leave their backyard and just walk into my house to free my dogs. I don't know what the purpose is other than it's something she just has to do for whatever reason. When she climbs into the backyard, sometimes when I'm not even home and she cannot get back out, she begins screaming and crying and just shuts down. Before I started chaining and locking my gates because of her releasing my dogs, her parents would just walk in and get her and then leave. Now, since I've chained it, they've started a huge fit about me having her locked in my backyard, and they have to climb the fence, bring the ladder over, and carry her back over. Somehow, this is all my fault. Now, I'm not really blaming her because mentally, she doesn't know any better. She has some very severe issues, and she's damn lucky my dogs are super nice. It's a purebred German Shepherd, an English Bulldog, and a mix Shepherd Bulldog. Honestly, I just worry about her safety in my backyard, her climbing fences, and her seemingly not being watched as she needs to be. I have a pool, and if she falls in when I'm not home, she could very well drown. That's why I've installed security cameras. My own ass if that ever happens. I truly hope it never does, but it seems her parents just put her in the backyard and that's it. I've called the local Child and Family Services Office, CPS, several times in the past 2 months to report it because I feel she is at risk with her parents' inattentiveness and their seemingly not caring attitude of her just going into people's yards, garages, houses, etc. I have a full garage of power tools, table saws, etc. that I've now had to resort to flipping the breaker off when I open the doors out of fear she may severely injure herself. Honestly, I feel like I've done everything I can. I've talked to the parents numerous times, called Child and Family Services, installed cameras, locked my gates further. I just have no idea what to do now. I've debated calling the police when she enters, but I don't know how that will escalate. Update: neighbor's child has disabilities and won't stop climbing the fence, entering my house, and freeing my dogs. I'm sad about this update for the kid. I took the majority of the given advice and called the police non-emergency number and asked for an officer to come out because I had questions about an issue I'm having and briefly explained it. The officer shows up. I invite him in and explain the entire situation. He isn't really sure what to do about it right now, so he asked for a supervisor to come to his position. The supervisor shows up and I go over the entire thing again. We go upstairs to my computer where I have all the videos clipped and saved, 9 times of her entering the backyard and 4 of her entering the house through the garage. We watched each one, and he gets on his cell phone and goes back to his car. A few minutes later, he comes back with 3 flash drives and asks me to copy the videos over to the drive and had me fill out a piece of paper stating what I put on the drive and then signed it. I repeated it all 3 times. About 45 minutes later, after we have been talking and he's been on and off his cell phone the entire time, 2 CPS workers show up and review the videos again and take a complete statement from me, going back to the first time it happened. This took about 2 hours because they wanted it to be precise and as accurate as I remember it and left out anything I wasn't 100% sure on. Officers and CPS workers head next door to talk to the parents. The parents apparently shut the door in their faces and said they didn't want to talk. But because of my statement and the videos of her climbing over, getting stuck, having to be carried back over the times I'm at work or gone and just entering the house, they did have probable cause to enter the home anyways. After they were inside their house for about 10 to 15 minutes, another cop car shows up, followed by another one a few minutes later. I'm in my garage, so I don't know exactly what happened inside, but after more officers showed up, the father was put in the back of a car and the daughter was put into the CPS workers' van, and then they left. The father was driven away about 10 minutes after that. Then, about an hour later, the mother is also put into the back of a car and they drive away. I talked to the initial officer that showed up and asked for a supervisor, and he tells me that they found drugs, pills, not in the prescription bottles, not in their prescriptions, and that the home was just not being taken care of inside and definitely not a safe environment for a child. They said that they found drugs not secured in areas that the child had access to them. I haven't seen them since the day after the post, and I do feel bad for the kid being in that situation and me being a neighbor not even knowing and my not wanting to call the cops. I didn't think it was anything like they found. I just figured it is really tough raising a kid and add on top of that severe mental disabilities, and it's even tougher. Honestly, I should have called them earlier once the CPS reports I was doing over the phone never went anywhere. Thank you all. Am I the asshole for telling my husband he overreacted over a piece of cake? Hi. So my husband, male 32, and I, 24 female, are expecting our first baby together. I'm 7 months pregnant. My in-laws are lovely people. My mother-in-law had some not so major fight with her husband, and they have been staying with us for a few days. Her birthday was yesterday, and because of her emotional and mental state, my husband decided to throw her a surprise party and invite his siblings. He got everything ready, and I was home alone when the cake arrived from the bakery. To give info, the cake was big and had my mother-in-law's favorite flavor, strawberry. I asked my husband for some snack I was craving really badly, but to be honest, I got a bit tempted whenever I looked at the cake and decided to cut a small piece of it. I didn't think it was a big deal till my husband saw it and flipped out, asking why I ruined the cake and cut a small piece of it. I said I was sorry, but was craving something sweet. He said that was supposed to be his mother's birthday cake, and I embarrassed him by taking a piece of it instead of waiting till the party in just a few hours. I said he should have been the one to handle it if he didn't think I was up to the task, but he went off saying he couldn't believe how childish I was with zero impulse control to be blaming him instead of checking myself and not be unsupportive. This made me upset because there were a ton of other stuff he asked me to do, and I did it. He kept arguing, saying I just caused him the piece of cake and an utter embarrassment when his mom sees that I ate from her cake. I looked at him and told him that he overreacted over a piece of cake and asked if a piece of cake was more important than his son, and that I was sure his mom will understand that I took a piece of cake in advance because I really couldn't help myself. But he said this wasn't about me and I have to just admit I messed up and ruined his work, then went upstairs. I refused to come out of the room to celebrate after he told me to stay there, and I explained to his mom what happened, and she didn't say anything though. I noticed that she was bothered. He keeps telling me to apologize, otherwise he won't speak to me nor acknowledge my presence in the house. So am I the asshole for telling my husband he overreacted over a piece of cake? Am I the asshole for reverse trick-or-treating with my wife? This happened a few nights ago, but I just heard it was causing drama today. My wife and I moved into our neighborhood a few weeks ago, and we live somewhat rural. We're in a small town under 5,000 people, but have about 4 dozen homes within a 20-minute walk. We know there aren't any kids in the neighborhood, and we're told to expect no trick-or-treaters. So, my wife and I dressed up in costumes we had easy access to, nothing controversial or inappropriate, and stocked up on candy. We made little baggies for each house in our neighborhood with about a dozen fun-sized pieces of candy in each. On Halloween night, we went from house to house, and about half the people opened for us. We would give them candy, introduce ourselves, and move on. We started around 6:30 p.m. and finished around 8:30 p.m. Today, while getting the mail, my wife overheard a group of people talking about the new neighbors who decided to take up a chunk of everyone's evening on a Saturday night. That, mixed with the 2 of the houses on our route telling us that people don't do that kind of thing in our neighborhood, and one telling us we're going to burn in hell for celebrating a satanic holiday, has me thinking that A, we have at least one lonely neighbor, but B, maybe we may have crossed a line in going out in the evening? I'm dismissing the satanic panic right away, but with multiple people telling us we weren't welcome and the stuff my wife overheard, I'm wondering, were we out of line? Are we the assholes? Am I the asshole for following my brother's last will and testament? My brother recently passed away and had named me as executor of his will. He left everything to his 2 minor children, including his 2 Camaros. His oldest child, who is in his 30s, Adam, was not mentioned at all. Before we found the will, the older child took possession of one of the cars and was driving it while he was in town. When we found the will, I, as executor, was fine with him driving it as long as he didn't leave the state. At this point, I did make him aware that he could contest the will and we were going to have to probate the estate. I know that he went to the house and removed several boxes of stuff, including his siblings' clothing, photos, etc. Fast forward a week, and he's left the state and took the keys to both cars and won't tell me where the car he was driving is. Legally, I'm responsible for that car and anything he does to it. I've given him a week to produce the keys and any items that warrant the personal effects of the 2 younger kids, or I'll have to report these items as missing to the probate court. He's looking at a combination of civil and legal penalties if he doesn't give the items back. Am I the asshole for telling him that I'd report the stuff as stolen and let him deal with these consequences?